The gentleman from Colonial Heights, Mr. Cox.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, today I want to outline the 2017 Republican policy agenda. And as these speeches normally go, you list off a bunch of bills in health care and education. I didn't want to do it that way. Today I want to sort of give an underpinning for a little bit of philosophy of why we feel so passionately about some of these bills. And I think it starts with a very simple theme of every person has value, and you will be amazed what they can accomplish if you empower them. And that reminds me of a student I had when I first started teaching. She was actually from communist China. She came over to the United States and only been there about a year. She got placed in my honors government class, and that's a pretty difficult class, and I gave a really tough assignment on elections. And I kid you not, she probably spent 40 hours on that assignment. And I graded it, and being the tough teacher that I was, I looked at it and I went, A effort, B work, so gave her a B. And so when it came to handing the paper back, I was a chicken. I waited for the bell to ring and threw it on her desk. And she sort of looked at it, read my comments, walks over to the trash can and just sort of places it in there. And I could see she was crying. So, boy, I felt really, really good. So I walk over to her and I go, her name was Daisy, and I go, Daisy, a B on a paper like this is incredible. You should be really proud of that. And she looked at me and she said, I could have done better. And it was interesting, she did. And by the end of the year, she had an A. And the reason I bring up that particular story is that I think all of us in this chamber want to do what's right. But one of the things we've really lost sight of is what people can accomplish if we get them to work. It's almost as if we count, if you're on public assistance, as a plus. We check that box, not that we've helped put you to work. And so there are three themes I want to cover today that sort of cover that: K-12 education, health care, and jobs. Let me start with K-12 education. Last year, one of the things we started with was empowering localities. They make better decisions than we do as far as schools go. So under Chairman Jones and Vice Chairman Landis, we return, I think, 29% of lottery money back to localities. Really almost no strings attached, no local match. We want to build on that this year. Number two, having been in the classroom for many, many years, the one thing they'll tell you is, can you cut the red tape and cut the bureaucracy? So that's going to be a major goal that we're going to have. Innovation. Virginia virtual schools. Dickie Bell's probably had that bill now 3 or 4 years. Other states are way ahead of us. Kids learn differently. The time for this bill has come. And I can tell you, especially doing a lot of work with veterans and military kids, they will particularly be benefited by that bill. And then we have a lot of other choice options. And it's interesting. What choice does is several things. It not only empowers parents and students, but this is one you don't hear very much. It empowers teachers. I used to sit next to a teacher at Manchester. She was very liberal. I was very conservative. And we used to talk about, if we could start a charter school together, how impactful we thought we could be. Rob Bell, once again, has that constitutional amendment. We're going to move that forward. We have education savings accounts from Dave LaRock, educational improvement scholarships from Jimmy Massey. And so it's time to move those. Let's go to higher education. Access and affordability are the keys. What can we do more there? Financial aid is very important to a lot of our students. We got a 40-year-old model. We don't reward hard work and achievement. And so we have a bill that will do that this year. If you take 15 hours and graduate in 4 years, it's going to reward you. And when you move from a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, you're going to get more financial aid as you move up, which makes perfect sense. And here's what I'm really excited about. We're going to call it the Online Virginia Network. And this one actually started with George Mason ODU. We are basically getting killed, I think, in the public sector and offering people what they want. Here's what we do. We basically, and we have good universities, but we decide you're going to fit our model. You're going to come to our school and take our coursework at the times we want to take. Basically, you have to take it. That's not good for working moms. That's not good for the kid in Southwest Virginia or in the Northern Neck who's got to stay home and work. And my wife's a great example of that. She does crisis counseling for a living. She deals with some of the toughest cases there are. She just wants to improve herself. So she went to William & Mary, and then she wanted to go back and get more education. There wasn't a single public school in Virginia that fit her schedule. And she told me it was interesting. She went back. She found a place out of state to basically get that. But she told me if they had not offered that, I just couldn't have done it. 4 boys, working mom. So this is how this is going to work. We are going to have an online bill that allows you to take a course, not only from George Mason or ODU, but from any online course in Virginia, community college, et cetera. Instead of you having to figure out how financial aid works and you have to figure out your course schedule, there'll be one-stop shop and you can call one place and get that done. And I'm hoping the 1 million adults that currently have started college, have not completed, now we'll be serving them instead of the opposite way around. Let's move to health care. In the last few years, $175 million worth of funding, especially in the mental health area, PAC teams and drop-off centers. And so I think we all value the safety net. It's absolutely key. But here's the problem. The safety net shouldn't grow faster than creating jobs. Here's a shocking statistic from the Foundation for Governmental Accountability. For every 2 new jobs created in Virginia since 2001, nearly 3 people have been added to the food stamp rolls. Success has to be measured in empowering people to get them to work. So how do we do that? We're going to start with welfare reform, sort of an old concept. When I first came here, that George Allen started back in 1996. It was interesting. The first year of welfare reform under George Allen, we cut the welfare rolls by 14%. There's probably 4 to 10% waste and fraud in welfare. But let me say this. It's not a faceless problem. When you have that, it costs taxpayers. But here's what really bothers me. It costs the truly needy. I had a young man come who I've known all my life, coached with his dad, who's been on the DD waiting list now for many, many years. And he wrote me this impassioned letter. If I could actually get that waiver, then I could get a job coach. And I could actually not work part-time, but I could work full-time. So when we have programs where they're abused, we take money away from people like that young man who I think so much of. TANF is supposed to stand for Temporary Aid to Needy Families. So we're going to put bills in that basically reduce the time you can be on TANF from 60 months to 24 months, and a whole host of other bills, not to be punitive, but to give people the dignity of work. Medicaid, heard a lot about that. JLOC recommended 35 fixes to address Medicaid, up to $36 million in waste. I can remember when Delegate Landis put that study in, he was criticized. We've studied Medicaid 10 or 12 times. They will find nothing, and they found a lot. And so you will see a series of bills to enact those JLOC recommendations. And let me say this also. We're going to reinstitute the Stanley Amendment, and we're going to block yet another attempt by the governor to expand Medicaid. We heard a lot of stats yesterday about the ACA. But let's remind ourselves of a few on Medicaid expansion. Ohio, $1.5 billion over budget because of Medicaid expansion. Illinois, $80 million. And while we're talking about the ACA very quickly, that's not the purpose of my speech, it was interesting. I was looking through a publication yesterday, The Federalist, and they said the following. The ACA will destroy 2.5 million jobs by 2024, according to the Congressional Budget Office. There's certainly another story there. And finally, and most importantly, let's talk about jobs and the economy. Too often, Governor McAuliffe's new Virginia economy has meant low-paying and part-time jobs. We have fallen to 13th on the CNBC list of states to do business. So our plan has 4 parts. First, structurally balanced budget without fee and tax increases. And we gloss over that very quickly. But if you look at the budget, you have fee increases like $100 on loggers. Not a big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal. Because if you sort of add all those up, it just directly affects their life. VEDP, we've heard a lot about that. As a matter of fact, the director basically said, when I asked him the question, probably the worst report I've seen in 20 years. Can you believe a marketing agency that doesn't have a marketing plan? We will make sure that we have a lot of reforms there, and to make sure they're done, we will hold money back. And finally, I want to end with this, regulatory reform. We're going to have a host of bills from Delegate Weber, Ransom, Lincolnfelter, Klein, and Peace to make regulations more transparent, fair, reduce financial burdens on business and families. But once again, what does that mean? There's a local businessman who I'm a very good friend with, and he told me the other day, which I found amazing, that probably half of his staff do nothing but comply with regulations. That gentleman probably does more for his community than anybody I know. The local volunteer fire department probably doesn't exist if it's not for him. And so he told me, what could I do with those people if I could actually put them to work creating jobs? And then millennials. The one really thing I find fascinating about millennials is they have this great entrepreneur spirit. And especially in our professions and occupations, we have so many barriers that we've basically built up over the last few years that block them. As far as the time it takes to get a license. Delegate Yancey's going to have a bill, which I love, which is going to waive first-time occupational license fees for people making less than $25 million. $25,000, which I was making $25,000. Y'all were supposed to catch that, but
Everybody said $10.
Thank you. But let me conclude with this. That's just part of our agenda, and we're excited about it. And I think you're going to see us really try over the next few days to really pass an agenda that really empowers people and believes in people, and will not only put them back to work, but I think give them a better life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.